Good afternoon. It gets tough after a nice lunch, right? Anybody have the chocolate pudding? I did. So if you find me kind of a little bit slow, please bear with me. The pudding was really good. So well, it's really a pleasure to be here. And I think, like others said, just to introduce myself, I am responsible for what we call our web experience and social software business for Asia Pacific. And I'm fortunate to actually live out of Mumbai. I find it very difficult to let go of Mumbai. I think all the Mumbaikars in this room will know exactly what I mean. But it's really good to talk to you all this afternoon. So I'm going to spend the next 30-odd minutes in talking you through and giving you some ideas and some insights into what we call the external web. And I think all this morning you heard a lot of discussion about how do you transform yourselves in becoming a social business. And there were two elements to that. One, of course, was how do you transform yourselves internally from an internal context. And therefore, and one way of doing that is by focusing and delivering what we call an exceptional work experience. The other angle to it was the external context, and the element there is really how do you deliver an exceptional web experience to your customers and to your stakeholders. So these are the things that I'm going to talk about, a little bit about trends that we're looking at currently in the marketplace, and going to specifically focus on what is IBM doing in this space, right? And a couple of key announcements which we made late last year. So I'm going to take you through those announcements and really, hopefully leave you with some thoughts of, how IBM can actually help you in your journeys, as and when you start thinking about the external web. Okay, so it's slightly a busy slide, but I think what the slide is trying to convey is that, firstly, from an AP standpoint, or from an Asia Pacific standpoint, we have probably the largest population of internet users across the world. The number stands close to around 2 billion users, right? So in our part of the world, it's pretty much the largest internet user population that we have. So keep that in the back of your mind. That's one data point. The other thing that you see on the slide is that there has been a shift of how I think us as individuals have been, how we have been using the net or the internet, right? So you can see on the top right-hand corner, there's a comparison of a couple of years, but there's been a shift in terms of how we now use the net to research products and services much more than what we did in the past. How we use the internet now to actually consume or buy products and services much more than we did in the past, right? How we use the internet to be socially active, whether it's looking at photographs, it's looking at videos, sharing photographs, sharing videos, much more than what we did in the past. And lastly is in the form of new devices, right? So mobile devices, for example, it's expected to be around close to 1 billion mobile internet users over the next 2 years, right? And we're seeing somewhat a revolution happening across the world in devices like tablets, right? And we've seen, I'm not sure how many of you were following the iPad 2 launch, right, which happened on the, I think, 2nd of March, and then I think it went, they started selling iPads in the US on the 11th, I think. But they're all sold out, right? And now if you actually go and, in the US, you decide to buy one, I'm given to understand, at least what I read in the press, is that it's going to probably take anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks, right? So you've got, a huge change happening in the way we are now, the kind of devices we are using for our own, own collaborative requirements. You saw that in today's morning's presentation as well. BlackBerry will, soon announce their playbook, right? So a plethora of devices, and probably the number of these devices are just significantly or exponentially going to increase, as we probably, look forward. Again, what the chart is really saying is if you look at, things that have happened in the past, right? So it compares Netscape versus AOL. It compares, the NTT Docomo iMode, which is in Japan, and it compares the Apple, iPod, iTouch, iPhone, right? And you can see the graphs for the older technology is a little lower vis-a-vis the graph for the iPod, which is significantly vertical, right? And so what really is happening is that off late, right, the innovation can really drive a lot of change, right? Can really drive significant offtake, and I think we've seen that as far as the iPhone and the iPod is concerned. So again, mobile usage is exploding. Approximately 85% of the handsets will have mobile access by the year 2011, which is this year. 5.3 billion mobile subscriptions by the end of this year. Approximately 1 in 5 of every global mobile subscribers will actually, have access to faster internet services, for example, 3G. And we've already seen 3G just getting launched between last and this month in India as well, right? I just called up Vodafone this morning to find out what their plans were, and they're actually offering a free 3G through the month of March, right? Just for you to try it out, right? And they told me that they'll be announcing their tariff plans early April. So again, a huge revolution, and I think as this becomes more and more pervasive or prevalent in India, you will see, the need for what I'm talking about is really an exceptional web experience only increase thereafter. Now, that having said, so you have some tech trends going on, you also have some, social trends going on, right, in the world today. And I think, social media sites like Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook are pretty much part and parcel of most of our daily lives today. So again, a couple of statistics, 2 billion tweets per month. If you look at Facebook, approximately 11.7 billion hours per month of time is spent on Facebook. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you are on Facebook? Okay, pretty much all of us, right? I mean, it's like a given nowadays. Actually, it's a stupid question. I asked a totally stupid question, but it's a given, right? How many of you are on LinkedIn? There, exactly the same thing, right? So all of us are actually a part of the this social revolution that is really happening on the world. And I think if I remember some statistics today, before I go on to the slide, Facebook has around 500 million users worldwide, right? Every month, right? And on an average, every user creates around 90 pieces of content again every month, right? And this content is in the form of comments, in the form of photographs, in the form of participating in any of their applications, stuff like that. But we have increasingly become extremely social, right? Now, how is this relevant in India, right? If you look at our own country's demographics today, we are a population of approximately little over 1.16 billion people, right? And if you just Google this on Wikipedia, approximately of their entire population, close to 30.8% are below the age of 14 years old, right? Which means we have approximately 360 million odd individuals, right, who are in school. Okay, now 360 million is a huge number. Let's think about it, right? I mean, you have countries who don't have that kind of population, right? So you have 360 million individuals in our country who are less than the age of 14, right? So what's my point? My point is that there is, on one hand, you have a revolution taking place from a social standpoint.